North America, 1991. Where were you in 1991? Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
Please check out my Patreon where I make new comics and post them as I finish them. Just go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli and on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
So Matt, I just saw the coolest movie, and it's Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Holy shit, Tom. I haven't vibed out on these Planet of the Apes flicks since I was in probably high school. When you suggested this and I watched it, my fucking mind collapsed on itself. It's so fucking sick.
Yeah, really good. And so what we're talking about here, we've seen all the Planet of the Apes movies, before countless times. But this is 1972's Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, but it's the director's cut.
I didn't know that one existed.
Yeah, it came out in the early 70s, and they made some last minute edits. The studio, insisted on some last minute edits. And so that's the version we've seen all these years, is this edited version. So around the time they did a Blu-ray release of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, which is the fourth movie in the Planet of the Apes series. They added on this director's cut, which is, the director's vision. And who was the director?
J. Lee Thompson.
Okay.
I'm a big fan. I'm a J. Lee Thompson head particularly for his 80s canon films movies.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
If you're a fan of Death Wish 4: The Crackdown,
okay,
or Firewalker, he has a large run with Charles Bronson through canon. So he did Cape Fear, the original with Gregory Peck, and he did Guns of Navarone. But I know him mostly for his canon films work.
Okay, and this director's cut version, it's on HBO Max under Conquest of the Planet of the Apes extended version, 1 hour 27 minutes. I think the theatrical release was 1 hour 26 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, the things they cut, were pretty key, even if the end result is only a 1 minute difference. But yeah, and the thing that put this on my radar was, Quentin Tarantino was just doing a podcast, and they were talking about the great talking about the final films of different directors, and this was not his final film, but he sort of brought this up as a really great movie, from a great director, and that he had, Quentin Tarantino said, he had just recently seen this director's cut version, and that it to him is the director's cut version is the best Planet of the Apes movie in the series. Now, and so I was okay, I got to check this out. And then I was blown away by just how great it is. Now, Conquest of the I was a huge fan of the whole Planet of the Apes series, and when I was a teenager, I saw this one. I had seen the first three a bunch of times. They'd always run them on TV, but then I got around to seeing this one, and for a while it was my favorite. I kind of eventually went back to the first Planet of the Apes, but it's kind of this 1984 dystopian future through kind of a 70s lens. Everybody's wearing turtlenecks.
Yes,
and stuff.
A lot of brown, a lot of turtlenecks. We got Ricardo Montalban.
Reprising his role from Planet of the Apes Part 3, which was... The first one was Planet of the Apes. The second one was Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And this was Escape from the Planet of the Apes, I think was the third one, which was where... It's the first one...
Battle.
No, it's not Battle. Battle is the final one. The one before Conquest. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. So, because the first Planet of the Apes, Charlton Heston goes to the Planet of the Apes. And then the second one is Charlton Heston disappears, so a second guy comes to the Planet of the Apes and then meets a bunch of mutants and stuff. And then, spoiler alert, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At the end of that movie... a nuclear bomb goes off and just obliterates the Earth, and there's a voiceover saying, "The planet Earth is dead." And so then it's where do you go from there? They were going to make a Planet of the Apes Part 3. What do? The Earth is dead. So Part 3 has Cornelius and Zira, who are the the chimpanzees from the first two movies, sort of like the friendly apes that Charlton Heston kind of teams up with, somehow like before that nuclear bomb went off, get into Charlton Heston Taylor's spaceship and fly it into space, and then the nuclear explosion happens, creates some kind of like time ripple, and then they end up in modern day Earth, I guess like 1970 or whatever, and so then they have their little story, and then they have a son, and so the fourth Planet of the Apes movie, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, is the story of him. Now he's like fully grown, and he's trying to stay in hiding because if they find out that he exists, the government will have him killed, because they've been looking for this. He's been in hiding his whole life, so they've been looking for him for fear that
speak.
Yeah, he can speak, and that they know from like the stories that his parents told that in the future the apes are going to take over and blah blah blah. So
Ricardo Montalban, he's like that. Caesar he was asking him like, why do you keep talking about rich Corinthian leather? Yeah, Chrysler pitchman Ricardo Montalban.
It's funny, like Ricardo Montalban, like in this, he's so great in this, but it's kind of like you think about what his career must have been like up to this point, just sort of this like character actor that pops up in random things or whatever. And then, in the 70s, he plays Mr. Rourke on Fantasy Island, and then becomes this like huge star, and then reprises his role of Khan, where like in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and like in that original Star Trek episode Space Seed that Wrath of Khan is sort of a sequel to, he's again like a bit player. He's like just like the villain of the week, just kind of shows up, but then is kind of sort of cements his reputation, becomes like almost like a superstar. When you take like his huge TV stardom from Fantasy Island, and then this like great role as Khan.
And then I love his role as the villain in the original Naked Gun. With he kills it too. He's like all in on that. He can do comedy. Like big fan. We're big fans.
Yeah. So he's in here, and he's kind of like the heart of the movie. Like he's super nice, super protective of Caesar, like really kind of sacrifices himself for him. It's
Roddy McDowall is playing his son.
Yeah, Roddy McDowall plays Caesar, he's the son of Roddy McDowall plays his own son, because in the previous movies he's been Cornelius, and so now this is Cornelius's son. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, super cool dystopian. It's kind of like the original Planet of the Apes movies, like the first two, kind of take place in this like weird sort of post-apocalyptic future where it's like organic, like the buildings are very organic. It's sort of like post-technological, like everybody's on horseback. But then this is like, the standard issue sci-fi setting of like sort of this like future. It takes place it looks like it's like maybe some kind of like corporate campus.
I was about to say, like, the locations they chose for this are so amazing. A lot of like great staircases, a lot of great like facades.
Probably like a
courtyards.
It was probably like a new state of the art kind of like complex in 1971 or whenever it was filmed.
And J. Lee Thompson is killing it here. Like the choice, I don't know if it's J. Lee or the DP, but like a lot of handheld camera work, a lot of long shots, like the camera's like across, like shooting people like from a distance.
I think that's a big part of the strength. Like this was always kind of like the most visually interesting from sort of like a camera work perspective of the series. The camera does move around a lot, and a lot of like POV shots, and obviously, you get to the fourth installment of a series, the budget is like, super cut. So it doesn't have the budget of like the first one, but talk about like the mileage that he gets out of a low budget.
The music.
Yeah, great music. So there's sort of like a series of like protests in this sort of complex, which is supposed to sort of like maybe represent like what like what the whole world looks like. The whole world probably looks like, some version of this. And the protests are like very regulated. It's like, okay, you have from this hour to this hour for your protest, and if you don't wrap up your protest by then you're going to lose like the right to protest for like like all this kind of stuff.
And then these guys couldn't look more Nazi.
Yeah, they're dressed in these kind of like these outfits that kind of like look like a Gestapo uniform or whatever. It's like a 1984 setting, or like a Fahrenheit 451, or like this is sort of like the standard issue dystopian future where like this sort of like consolidation of power and like oppression.
They after Caesar yells at these Gestapo guys, Ricardo, he plays Armando from Armando's Circus. He takes the fall for him, and he tells him to wait in like that stairwell, and if he's not back by sundown, to like run off.
Yeah, because like Caesar sees them like sort of like abusing an ape, and then Caesar like can't take it anymore, and so he just yells out, "You human bastards!" and so they're like, "Wait, that ape said that," and so everybody's kind of like freaked out, and then Ricardo Montalban's like, "No, I said, you inhuman bastard, stop it," and so that's sort of the inciting incident. Like now, Caesar has to go into hiding.
It's John Machida, the Micro Machines guy. Those guys start beating him up. He's like,
so everything we've talked about so far is sort of like how this movie has been like, all along, like ever since we've watched this movie, like back, like I saw it for the first time when I was a teenager, and loved it, like, and especially like it was like my favorite Planet of the Apes movie for a while, because it is kind of like, it's kind of like The Empire Strikes Back. It's it's like darker, and it's kind of cooler, and great cinematography, and it's got like an edge to it. But like I want to talk about like what makes this like director's cut, like why that is like just takes it to like a whole other level, like makes it into like a really like thrilling, troubling, kind of like visceral experience that like the original really wasn't.
See, I had seen like the first two a lot.
Yeah.
I was getting driven to school by my mom, and we were listening to B94.
Okay.
And I think they had like John Klein and Banana Dawn were like the DJs, and there was an intern or something that didn't show up for work. His name was like Stupid Guitar Boy or something. Okay. And they called his house to like prank him or something. Mm-hmm. And when they called him, he didn't. I don't know how I remember this. Is like he didn't answer, and his answering machine was Charlton Heston. And he's like, "Get your stinking wasabi,
you damn dirty apes."
And I thought that was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That sounds like an epic radio bit.
It was great, and then that was my first exposure to it. And I watched the first one, saw the second one a little more, but then I think around the time of when Star Wars released the VHS, remember in that black like 3-pack?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They had Planet of the Apes, like 5 movies came out in like a box set.
They were like, "Oh yeah, you like that Star Wars thing? Well, check this out. We got 5. They only have 3. We got 5."
Because they were both from 20th Century Fox, and then I should have known better too on that Star Wars 3-pack, because on the back it says like, "These are the last time you'll see these in its original format." And I didn't pay close enough attention.
Yeah, it was true. Like it sounds like bullshit, but like, they meant it.
But that was kind of the last time I had probably like watched these. So whenever the like when you said there was the director's cut, I was like stoked, but I couldn't like to compare to the original. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I did some comparing. But I'll get to that in a minute. But my experience with Planet of the Apes, like when I was a kid, it was like I had like Planet of the Apes fever. Like they were rerunning there was like a Planet of the Apes TV series in the 70s, and so when I was a kid, they were rerunning it. They'd have like a marathon of it on like Channel 48, where you'd see the whole Planet of the Apes series. Like Monday you'd see episode 1, Tuesday you'd see episode 2. This like whole marathon of it. And so that was the Planet of the Apes I knew, was like the TV show. So like, kind of like a sanitized version of Planet of the Apes. So like I knew that for a lot of years, was like super into it, loved it. And then when I got a little bit older, I saw like the first Planet of the Apes movie, and I was like, wait a second, what's this? Because it had like more of an edge to it, like like people got killed and lobotomized in it and stuff. Like it was a lot more disturbing, and like the world of like the Planet of the Apes TV show was like a little friendlier, like because it was kind of, it's like it's TV, it was a little gentler, so it was like in the movie, none of the humans can talk except for Charlton Heston and like the other astronauts who show up, and like all the other astronauts get like killed and stuffed.
Was somebody in a museum?
Yeah, put in like a taxidermy exhibit in a museum, and then they get the one guy gets lobotomized and stuff. So like super disturbing. But in like the Planet of the Apes TV show, it's like, oh yeah, the humans can talk. Like they were like, you know what? It's a TV show. You can't have the people just like not talking. This isn't like Charlie Chaplin, or this isn't like a silent movie. So they made, so it was like this gentler kind of world. But then like the hard edge of like the real Planet of the Apes. And then I was like, I was on a mission. Like I had to like watch all the Planet of the Apes movies, and just like and they would like run the Planet of the Apes movies on TV. And so, but you'd see the first one the most, and then you'd see like the second one,
that's what,
kind of like second, and then the third one was they'd show a lot too, because like the third one's kind of fun, like it's kind of goofy and fun. So yeah, just like huge fan, watched them whenever they were on, and then like got a little older and like had access, was able to go to like a video store and like pick out my own selections.
Yes.
So then it might even have been around the time that like the Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes came out too. So it was kind of like this renewed sort of interest. So anyway, that's like my Planet of the Apes story.
I also vibed out on when like the Planet of the Apes the musical on The Simpsons.
Yes.
That brought it back to my forefront too. It's like
I was wrong. It was Earth all along. You'll never make. Oh, you finally made a monkey.
Yes,
out
you finally made a monkey
out of me. Yeah. So
Dr. Sayers, Dr. Sayers,
Dr. Sayers, Dr. Sayers, Dr. Sayers. Yeah, so it was, like caught up in the waves of like...
You can play the piano. Well, I couldn't before.
Yeah, exactly. So like Planet of the Apes, big part of like,
When I was in high school, I was reading Toy Fair, and I saw a lot of articles about the Planet of the Apes toys.
Yeah.
I never had, like, those were...
Yeah, that was before my time, yeah.
They look like, was that like...
They were like Mego. I think they were kind of like,
yes,
like my era is like the little, like sort of Star Wars figures and G.I. Joe,
yes.
like, and then Masters of the Universe. But like those Mego, that was like, the generation before me. That would be like when I was in like nursery school and kindergarten. They'd have a bunch of them there, like all beat up, that they had gotten like, years and years ago. They were just like sitting. So you'd see like, the Hulk and stuff. Yeah, I don't remember seeing the Planet of the Apes guys.
Toy Story 5, they have there's a rotting Dr. Zayas figure.
So like, obviously, when they made the Blu-ray of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, they knew that even though this like extended version is like a bonus feature, the people putting this together obviously like knew what they were doing, were fans, and were like, this is the one we're putting our effort in. Because if you watch like the like just Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, like not the extended version, it doesn't look like they did anything to like improve the picture quality, or like it's like the same old video you've been watching like since the VHS days. But then this one looks amazing. It's like super cleaned up. Like the picture quality is incredible. Like they really went all out, kind of like restoring it. But then, and like you see what, like this is the real version. This is it. And like I did a little comparison because I like watched it and like I loved it in a way that like I never loved this movie before. Like I always liked it a lot, but like I was kind of blown away by it. And so there were a couple of scenes where I was like, yeah, I don't remember that scene, and I don't remember that. So I went back to watch it, and they do play out very differently. It's very small changes, but like really, like I could see this like movie almost, in 1972 getting like an X rating or something.
Oh, heck yeah. And like it's got the crisp, beautiful widescreen they got it in. And the pacing, it moved. I was like, all right, an hour and 27 minutes, and then I was like, this thing's flying and it's moving and it feels great. Like,
yeah, it's got this great scene. Like, this was kind of always the centerpiece of the movie, was like this big like ape training facility where it's kind of like those, you know, things in like a James Bond movie where it's like a bunch of guys with like flamethrowers and like climbing walls and stuff, like the training room of. So this is kind of like that, and you're just walking through. The camera's going like this, and like Caesar is just kind of, you know, kind of freaking out watching like all this, kind of like torture. They're torturing these apes basically.
Yeah, this sequence, like you're saying, it's like an evil version of a monkey's romp.
Yeah,
like it's like that's the positive one. This is like the dark version.
So like the changes, like the things that are different in this director's cut, like the violence is amped up with just like a couple of little like inserts here and there, like so like the movie sort of culminates with like this sort of like ape revolution, and you have sort of like those like Gestapo guys, and they'll like be shooting at the apes and stuff, but in this version, in the director's cut, there's like just a couple shots where like, you know, the apes are kind of like slowly walking towards and then like you like one of those classic Planet of the Apes with like that makeup that's like iconic that we all know and love, like, and we've seen these characters and things. You get like one of those guys and he gets shot right in the face. I know. And it's like with that kind of like this like bright red blood, like they just splashed this like red paint on his face, and it's like a red that like blood does not look like it's this completely unnatural shade of red, but it's so jarring.
It is,
you know,
and like how it's like like how they like just throw it on their face, and I winced when that happened.
It was shocking, and I was like, I don't remember that part, you know, and I compare, and it's like it's almost like they had the same shot in the original, but like it's like they put like a black filter on, or they like, you know, laid on like some smudge or something, because you kind of see like the smoke from the shot, but you don't see like it hitting the apes, like you don't see the red or anything. Yeah. So I don't know if it was just like an alternate shot, or if they like turned down the color or did something, but you don't.
That happened more than once in this too.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple like sort of key scenes where an ape gets shot point blank in the face, and none of that was in the like, you know, the theatrical version, like the released version, and it makes all the difference in the world. Like it's super jarring, and then it really makes like these Planet of the Apes movies, like as the series goes on, you start siding with the apes. Like it's kind of natural. Like Roddy McDowall is kind of like the consistent thing through all. So you're kind of in their corner, and it's also kind of like that Alfred Hitchcock thing of like, you know, where he makes you identify with like the murderer or whatever, like through these like little techniques. So like by this, you know, by part 3 of Planet of the Apes, you're fully on the ape side, and then this continues that, and you're sort of on their side, and then and when you see them getting like just like mowed down, it's like you're really on their side. But then there's this like this is like the huge difference, like at the end of the theatrical version, he's like, you know, he does this whole like ape revolution, and then it's like they're gonna like they capture like the governor, and they're gonna like, you know, they're gonna kill him or whatever, and then he's like, you know, it will be a Planet of the Apes, and then it's like this like voiceover all of a sudden, and like close up where you don't see his mouth, and it's this voiceover of like, yeah, we could, you know, be just as violent as the humans, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do things differently. We're going to have, okay, like, we made our point, and it's going to be a day of peace now, and we're not, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, it kind of, like, pulls back and, like, maintains, like, what you like this Caesar character. You identify with him, and so by the end, it maintains that. Now, this director's cut, the way the director originally intended this movie to be, is not that at all. In fact, like Caesar kind of does like a heel turn at the end. And like whenever he was looking at, like, I got choked up during this movie whenever Caesar saw Armando's circus flyer on the window, and he was reading it, and then like
Roddy McDowall, great acting through the mask, like the tears coming down, and he started screaming. It was like, I'm like, oh my god! And then at the end, like when they killed the governor, like
that's like the key, like that's the big difference and the key turning point. Yeah,
I was all in. I was,
and then you're kind of like when it's like. When it's like, he does that heel turn and he is like, it's like, holy shit, like,
his voice changes.
Yeah, he's not the guy I thought he was. But then it's kind of like, oh yeah, you've been kind of like identifying with these apes all through the story. And then by the end you realize, oh yeah, like these apes are killing humans, and I'm a human, and they're taking over, and they're going to subjugate the human, and it's going to be that world that we see in like Planet of the Apes Part 1, And it's like, of course he's, of course he's not, of course he's going to do a heel turn. Of course he's not just, and it's just kind of like it just, like the movie just feels like it has like more of like a point and a purpose, like it just hits you hard. And just this idea of like violence begets violence. Like he kind of like stays, Caesar in the theatrical cut kind of like stays the hero and stays. But in this version, it's like, holy shit, what have I been rooting for this whole time? And then, and it's actually kind of brilliantly played because it's Roddy McDowall. And Roddy McDowall, he's in like all those Planet of the Apes movies. And then he's even in the Planet of the Apes TV series. So like, he's like the guy who's like associated with all this. So you've seen him all this time. But up until this movie, like you've seen him as Cornelius.
Yes.
And so Cornelius was he was peaceful, he was kind, he had a sense of humor, he had all these things. And now it's the same actor playing Caesar. And so you're bringing all that, you're assuming that he's just like Cornelius, but you realize, oh no, he's very different he grew up under very different circumstances than Cornelius. Cornelius had like a normal upbringing in that sort of ape society. He was a scientist, he was kind of, sheltered and academic, where, Caesar is growing up, like his parents were murdered. He has to hide his identity. So he's growing up with this, like just like a very different, like this sort of like pain and this seething resentment and it's just seeing all this like mistreatment and stuff, and again, he has sort of like this like loving foster father of Ricardo Montalban, but he's just seeing this like the whole rest of the world, is just,
And then Ricardo gets
killed. It's like, that sets him, and you do see, like, he gets, really serious after that. After Ricardo Montalban dies, then you see him kind of, like, organizing this, like, this sort of, like, ape rebellion, and, like, they're just stocking up on guns and kerosene, and,
The way that scene is hilarious, too. Yeah. Whenever he's, going through the list of everything, he's like, one revolver, it's like 4 bullets, or
yeah, because these apes are sort of like they go from, like, in this world it's kind of like, like a disease wipes out all the house pets, so then they start making apes house pets, but then they realize, these apes are like kind of smarter than we assumed, and so they start having them do like various tasks, and pretty soon they're like doing everything in society. And so like, yeah, these apes will be going around with like a shopping list. So they'll like their keeper will like write a shopping list, and then they'll they'll go to the grocery store, hand it, and then, so like, yeah, they come to Caesar, and then Caesar like makes some, adds some stuff, like adds guns and bullets and, to the shopping list. So they're like stockpiling all this
I love that scene. It like whenever they had Caesar in like the governor's office, they tried to make him into like a bartender, but he becomes they're like, this is weird. He's become a hipster mixologist.
He's mixing drinks, and then they make him into like a file clerk or something.
Yeah, he has like a mustache. He's like, they're like, geez, we just wanted a highball. Now he's making like an egg white, like.
But yeah, like, man, like, it just shows you like just these little changes, and like. They just kind of like took just these like small but vital changes that like completely change like the arc of the character, change like the message of the movie. Like the message of the theatrical thing is somewhat muddled. It's kind of like, it's kind of, it doesn't really say anything. It's kind of like, yeah, the apes have their revolution, but hey, we're going to do a better job than the humans. And then it's like the irony is that they end up, doing like much worse or whatever. And that's one thing. But this is kind of like, like this you feel in your gut, and like wow, like violence begets violence, and just
like whenever he was crying after he saw that sign, and he started like screaming and like crying out, I was like, okay, this is like something different.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned too the brilliant casting of Roddy McDowall again, because you have so much bad positive
good
bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this guy's great, and in the theatrical version that continues. It's like like they didn't really do anything with it. It's like, oh yeah, Cornelius was nice, and gee whiz, Caesar's nice too. But it's like with this, it's like it's they like he does something. He puts a little twist in there.
And then whenever they had the governor hemmed in, I was like, he's like, I'm not gonna. I was like, oh, they're not gonna kill him. And then they bash his head.
Yeah, then they do, and it's like, yeah, it's a very different and like the governor, like he has one of those scenes where he's like, give me a gun, and they're like just holding this one gorilla, and he's like, give me a gun, and he takes the gun and just like, and you get another one of those shots where it's just like that red, and it's like, oh man, you're like, I
was getting like.
It
made me cry. It also hit. It's a solar plexus.
Yeah, it's power. It's power. Like this movie. I recommend everybody go out and see this. Like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes extended edition. Like it's amazing.
Great pick, Tom.
Yeah,
it's like one of the best movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah, and they had that like newer Planet of the Apes series, which I liked a lot. With it was. I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and then I think there might have been a Conquest. Like I think they did three of them. Yeah, they did 3 of them, and those are great. Those are and I really like the way they reinvented and built on the original.
From it felt like this one, Conquest, and what's the one that comes after it? Battle.
Yeah, Battle is the final one in this original series.
They pulled from these two kind of like for those.
Yeah, I just like, but yeah, this has such a it's just such a vital, powerful film, and like in a way that like only a movie from the 70s can be,
It hits on all cylinders, looks great.
Yeah, I love the look
story-wise, like music. I'm a big fan. I can't wait to revisit it. There's so much it's a very rich flick.
Yeah, just really good. Like I kind of want to go back and watch the whole series again, to kind of get here.
Also, you got Clark Griswold's dad as a cameo from.
I think he plays the president. Or he plays like the president of like the past, the president of like the present day of like before this dystopian future, and for like the president from like 20 years, prior to this.
And like the camera work, it's like Man on the Street, like news looks like a like it's bobbing around. Love it. I love it. What a pick.
Like really, like I've never seen anything like it, and and it is like it's just been sort of sitting, it's been languishing in a vault all these years, and again that thing of like, oh, this movie is a little too out there. Let's rein it in a little, and you take like it must have been incredibly frustrating because he creates this like masterpiece, and then it's like, yeah, let's reel that in a little bit.
When you mention the flick, like on HBO Max, if you search it, the Conquest for the Planet of the Apes comes up, and it's like forefront, and you wouldn't find this. I had to drop down. Yeah. So people are, if they're not looking specifically for that, they're totally gonna miss it.
It's kind of weird to put the theatrical version up front too, because obviously the people who are in charge of sort of maintaining these things, they put all of their effort into this version. This is I've never seen the movie like this at all. Just from a picture quality standpoint, it looks great. And the theatrical version is kind of muddy. It looks like a 4th generation VHS or whatever. So this is the one to watch.
We gotta see this on somehow. What if we
theatrical
saw it on
release?
The big screen? Wouldn't that be sick?
Yeah, it's.
And they're come down for interrogation.
Yeah, this interrogation scene is cool. This is kind of how this is that dystopian future, and this is every 70s movie, like up until Star Wars that was sci-fi, was kind of this. It's like, okay, in the future, everybody's wearing identical clothes. It's a bummer. It's totalitarianism. And yeah, they have this cool like interrogation machine that like he can't lie. Like it shines this light on him that he can't lie. It's
Cool
like
prop comes down from the ceiling.
This like electronic truth serum.
And it wouldn't be the Total Recall show if somebody wasn't wearing like a thick cable knit turtleneck with a corduroy jacket over top.
Well, I see like, when they made Star Wars, they were pulling, like, it was a 70s sci-fi movie. And so they're like pulling from the same stuff everybody else is pulling from. And I do see some visual cues. There's like this, that end up in like, Empire Strikes Back and stuff. There's like this like circular kind of tunnel that goes into sort of like that, with like lights and stuff that looks very Star Wars. And then they also in this, it's like the bad guys are like, they're all wearing black. They're all wearing these black turtlenecks and jackets and stuff. And then Ricardo Montalban, his is like earth tones. His is like, he's got like a brown jacket, an even browner turtleneck. And then he has these kind of like tan pants that are kind of like a circus ringleader, or not a circus ringleader, but like a guy on a safari or something. Like so, like the good guy has like some earth tones, and then the bad guys are all like dressed in black. The original Planet of the Apes, the first one, like the camera moves around like that, like it's like completely in motion, just in like the first part of the movie. The first part of the movie when they first land on the planet and stuff, it's got this sort of hyperactive camera. It's so great. And then once it like settles into like, okay, here we are in Ape City, the camera kind of stops, and it's like it's because it's like we spent all this money on these amazing masks. We want you to really see it, so it's in full focus. But this movie, he like made the smart decision of like taking that kind of hyperactive camera and like just keeping it through the whole movie.
What a watch!
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I can't recommend this enough. And again, it was just like. Like just a couple days ago, I was like, let me check this out, and I was like blown away by it. I was blown away, just like that one guy, one guy gorilla gets like blown away in the face.
You were blown away by that gorilla shot at point blank range in the face.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like again, it's like we have a lot invested in this sort of like depiction of like. These like makeups and stuff that we've seen in all these movies, and so to see one of them, like there's not a scene like that in the rest of the series where like they just get brutally assassinated basically.
And then like the blood we all know and love from the movies. I don't think that blood formula was developed till like the 80s. That's what like you get that like dirty hairy like
that more realistic kind of This is like a Hammer Films kind of blood. When they like stick a stake in a vampire's heart or something, it's this like looks like
jelly.
I mean, it just looks to me like Campbell's tomato soup.
Yeah,
like cream of tomato. It looks like cream of tomatoes. Got a little bit of white in it. But yeah, like the ape revolution thing where they're like stockpiling weapons and then they start like burn and like. You see like the apes kind of like thinking of and then it cuts to like Cornelius just giving this like this look, this like stare. But anyway, so
oh, look at this cleaver! Oh my god!
Check it out. It's a great stand. Like it works great in the context of like the Planet of the Apes series. But if you just want to go straight to this one, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes extended version, you got it. It has the Total Recall show seal of approval.
Yeah, it's HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO Max, or you can check out like the Blu-ray from I think 2018.
Awesome.
Maybe they'll run it at the New Beverly.
Dude, we're gonna have to do a Total Recall show from the New Beverly one of these days. Mm-hmm. Tarantino's theater.
I love like the retro future stuff. Like it's like that. It's like I'm sure when this movie came out, this looked like the future. Like wow, this is the future. But now it's like this looks like the 70s and the future. Like it doesn't get better than that.
I know.
Yeah. This has been the Conquest of the Planet of the Apes Director's Cut Extended Version episode of Total Recall Show. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design.
I'm Matt Zeoli.
And please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli, and you'll be able to see like all the comics that I'm working on currently. As I complete them, I post them. And you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Scioli, and you can follow me on Instagram at Tom_Scioli.
You can follow me on Instagram at cinema_tomb.
Get your stinking claws off me, you damn dirty apes!
Man, this movie, man, a great use of color too. There's it's basically like a black and white movie. You know, it's like you know, this like gray dystopian future, stark, and then just a little bit of red here and there.
The red and green jumpsuits.
Yeah. So then when you do have like one or two, like you have like maybe 2 or 3 of the apes get shot in the face, and it's that same red. It's the same red as like the red jumpsuit. So it's like, you know, beautiful kind of, you know, color coordinated movie.
I can never get the famous quotes right.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Get your monkey hands away from my person."
You know, the edited ending. It's like when he's just talking about like, you know, he's just doing all this rhetoric and stuff, and then there's like this there's this like female ape, this female chimpanzee who kind of looks like Zira, you know, from the previous series, which would be Caesar's mother. And so you imagine like, oh, you know, she's going to be his, you know, girlfriend or his wife or whatever, and they're going to sort of sire, you know, the apes that become, you know, like the planet of the apes or whatever. And like they never, like, it's always hinted at, but like they never, you know, there's never like the connection of like, you know, but you always see her kind of watching him and seeing what's up. And so at the scene that is super tense, where you're not sure what's going to happen, whether he's going to tell them to like kill the governor or spare him or whatever, and she's just kind of like looking at him, and she's sort of like his conscience or whatever. And she's like looking at him and whatever, and then like, you know, he kills the governor in the director's cut, but then in the sort of edited version, the theatrical version, she's like looking at him, and then she's like this like voiceover, no, and it's like, oh, she's, you know, from you know, she's learning to talk too, and pretty soon all these apes are gonna, like, it's kind of like they had to throw in some kind of twist so that the ending isn't just like a complete like washout, you know, this like revised ending, and it like it's just so it's kind of stupid. Like I never really thought about the ending before because it felt like of a piece with the series, but when you see like the real ending, it's like that ending is just so the theatrical ending is just silly, and then this is like visceral and like, you know, you feel it.
I've been thinking about this movie all day long.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a rewatch also of the whole series now after
me
this,
too.
like big time.
Yeah, I mean, this like snapshot, like just this moment right now. This is my favorite movie ever.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
like I'm sure it'll find its place.
Empire
But for now, it's
Strikes Back
like,
scene.
yeah, very very Empire, because it is like, you know, what are you thinking of when, and maybe even some of the same people worked on it. Who knows?
I saw Planet of the Apes 2001 with my buddy on opening night, and at the theater, the manager came in, in a gorilla costume, and was like, he's like, "Hey everyone," and took his helmet off, like took his head off, and was like, talked about all. He's like, "We've got special on popcorn and drinks," and like while he was going through his spiel, the theater started like booing him, and then he like put his helmet back on and left.
That sounds like an amazing theater. Now the 2001 one, that wasn't the Mark Wahlberg one.
That was the Mark Wahlberg
That was the Mark Wahlberg one. Okay.
Dude, this is my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty, like, you know, I'm sure I'll settle down, but like I'm like high from this movie, and it is like because it's like, it's not, you know, like it just like hits you so, and it's like I'm kind of shaken from it, you know, but like in a good way, you know.
Dude, I was like,
it was
mad at myself for not have like experienced this before.
I mean, I'm mad at 20th Century Fox for like changing the ending, and you know, I mean, they did like 20th Century Fox, like the things I've heard was like they did not want to, like, you know, you had like Clockwork Orange and stuff. They did not want to inspire real life violence. You get caught up in the narrative of this, and you're kind of like siding with these apes, and then like by the end of the movie, you're like, wait, what have I been, you know, on board? What have I been, you know, rooting for?
From when he reads that sign, I'm like, go get him, Caesar.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and then at the very end, it's like, I'm a fool.
And like that last scene, like this thing is structured almost like a play, and like Caesar, such a good like name because it is like it's got rhetoric and it does feel Shakespearean, and it does kind of hinge on this like speech he gives at the end. He gives this speech. It's like this amazing speech, and then man.
The governor gives him the dictionary. He's like, "You can pick your name," and then it shows him. He points. He's like, "Carrot Top."
Yeah, just
Dude,
what a great
awesome.
movie. What a 70s classic. Like this fits very cleanly in that sort of like 70s pantheon of like The Godfather.
Hell yeah! This is a nailed on classic.
Yeah, for
badass.
Sure. Yeah, like there needs to be a revision of like the cinema canon.
Yes.
Just to make space for the director's version of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Hopefully, we're getting the word out there.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino did his part. He did like a little, and now we're gonna hit the home run and really get the word out there.
He took it down 99 yards. We're gonna vulture that touchdown and punch it in from the one.
There you go. So you got some of these like very Star Wars looking settings, and then you do have these sort of like futuristic Nazis, like when Lucas did the Empire, like he just kind of like took some of the hats off, maybe took a couple medals off, or a couple belts, and then
the princess is in
Lord Vader, the princess
is in the cell. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, the camera work here, like
so great, and when. Like, this is in both versions, but it's like the way it's set up in the director's thing and what it builds to, it plays completely differently because it's like you have like the ape getting shot in the face, and then you have the governor like grabbing the gun and like they're holding the one ape and he like just shoots this other one in point blank in the face. So then like when the apes start breaking into that bunker that the governor's in, and you see like it's another Star Wars thing when you see like it's like they have an arc welder torch kind of thing going like it's like the lightsabers in like Phantom Menace when they're like opening up the thing, and it's like it's really it's so scary. It's like scared. They are gonna like rip you apart, and like the governor is kind of freaking out as you're seeing this thing, like such tension in this director's cut, and then when it breaks open and the apes come in, they're kind of like. Caesar is holding the machine gun kind of like awkwardly, but they're just like just mowing down all like the humans. And again, it's more or less the same shot and shots that are in both versions, but like everything that kind of sets it up in the director's cut just makes it like just feel like so much more like savage.
Dude, this is like a classic with it's like. Right down the middle, Dead to Rights classic.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.